everyone. So, Driver's Ed feels like a movie that accidentally arrived from another era. Directed by Bobby Farley, the coming of age road trip comedy clearly wants to recapture the energy of the classic Farley brothers comedy from the late 90s and early 2000s. But instead of delivering another outrageous crowd pleaser like Dumb and Dumber or There's Something About Mary, the movie ends up landing somewhere much softer, safer, and honestly pretty forgettable. The premise is simple and very familiar. A group of high school students steals a driver's ed car and heads out on a road trip after one of them becomes obsessed with winning back his college freshman ex-girlfriend. It's the kind of setup that practically screams chaotic teen comedy, wild misadventure, and non-stop ridiculousness. But surprisingly, Driver's Ed barely leans into over-the-top comedy you would expect from a Farley project. That's honestly the biggest issue with the film. For a comedy, it just isn't very funny. The script written by Thomas Moffat apparently delivers only occasional laugh and most of the humors feel incredibly tamed compared to the kind of outrageous material the Farley brothers built their reputation on. There are few random R-rated gags thrown in, including some quick shock humor moments, but they feel less like clever comedy and more like reminders of what these movies used to be decades ago. What's strange is that the movie almost works better when it stops trying to be a raunchy comedy altogether. Underneath the weak jokes is actually a pretty sweet coming of age story. The emotional core of the film seems to resonate far more than the comedy itself. Even if the romance and the character arcs play out exactly the way you expect, the movie apparently still captures that nostalgic John Hughes style feeling of awkward teenage friendship, growing pains, and emotional uncertainty surprisingly well. A huge reason for that is the younger cast. Sam Nivola, who recently gained attention from The White Lotus, leads the movie and sounds like one of its biggest strengths. His performance is described as naturally goofy and likable, and the chemistry between the young cast helps carry the film whenever the script falls flat. Actress Sophie Telegadis, Mohana Krishnan, and Aidan Lapret apparently makes the friend group feel more genuine and less cliche than expected. Ironically, the adult cast doesn't fare nearly as well. Kumail Nanjiani appears in the movie, but critics seem genuinely confused by why he's even here. His role sounds unwritten and underwritten and forgettable, almost like the kind of quick supporting comedy part actors take for an easy paycheck rather than something creatively exciting. Visually and structurally, Driver's Head also carries that old school studio comedy look that was common in the early 2000s. It's polished enough, easy to watch, and completely harmless, but it also feels strangely outdated in today's comedy landscape. The movie reportedly lacks the strong personality or sharp comedic edge needed to really stand out in modern theaters, which explains why it's arriving mostly as a VOD release instead of a major theatrical event. Still, despite all its flaws, the film apparently has enough heart to keep audiences from completely rejecting it. It may not be hilarious, memorable, or particularly original, but it sounds charming enough to work as a light comfort watch for fans of old school teens road trip comedies. Basically, Driver's Ed feel less like a triumphant return for Bobby Farley and more like a nostalgic reminder of a style of comedy Hollywood barely makes anymore. Thank you for watching.